Well, Desmond,
Yes,
how are you?
I am doing well.
Good.
Yourself?
I am okay. Life has been interesting for sure. And not just since we left one another last, which wasn't too long ago, I suppose, but since the beginning of our journey together, which is kind of what we're here to talk about today.
Yes. Which is going on 8 years ago?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the thing that shocked me the most for several reasons was the day that I was able to say that I was out of jail for longer than I was in jail.
Right?
I don't know why, but it was like it was much more shocking like when when that happened than when somebody said, "Oh yeah, this is your 4th year in prison," or "This is going on your 5th year in prison," or whatever it was. Right? I was like,
Yeah.
"All right, whatever." Like even
Yeah.
though the dates and stuff can get in your head, and that's one of the things they kind of warn you about inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It's ironically weird that we're coming up and I'm almost double my time out.
For me, it was the shocker of being eligible for a pardon. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that was like wait, that means I've had 5 years without any even misdemeanors, tickets, or anything. I'm like, I've never had, since the time I was eligible to be charged.
yeah.
I have not gone 6 months without a criminal charge.
Yep.
Except now.
Yeah, and it's and for me it was like, and we were just discussing before we kind of got started here. I did not expect to be alive after a year. Like a year, I was like, wow, that's a long time to be alive and survive prison with what I had assumed was going to be going on in there.
Yeah.
And, the funny thing is like reality sometimes, yes, is stranger than fiction, but the reality of prison for the most part, while certainly still with its ups and downs and its genuine dangers that you need to watch out for, it sure as shit ain't Hollywood, and
Nope.
yeah,
There's a
so
certain amount of rules, and there's more respect for those rules in that jail. It almost seems like we're all animals in that place, and we all respect each other, if that makes any sense. Like,
sure,
I don't know. I know there were fights and stuff like that, but I never saw anyone raped in there or
right.
really heard about it either.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There were willing participants. That's a whole nother ball game,
Right.
right? But as they put it, some of them go in pansexual. They're straight on out, but they're inside
That's right.
pansexual.
Pansexual, that's right. I mean, hey, look, all right, whatever. I suppose I could understand, those guys that are having a hard time, right? So,
quite literally.
That's a whole different definition of doing a hard time. Oh, that's so wrong. Anyway, wow, we got off the rails really quick here.
Yes. Sorry about that.
But no, I think you're right to some degree. But it like people think, well, animals have no rules, and it's like very clearly there are rules in the animal kingdom, right? There are ways of behavior that people learn to do to survive, right? And that's essentially what jail really was. Is if you wanted to survive, you followed these things. Just like a gazelle gives a wide berth to a fucking lion, right? Like they're not just gonna walk up to it and fucking poke it with its horns, right? It's like, no, I know what I am. I'm a gazelle. I'm fucking scared, right? And you should be. There are lions, right?
Oh hell yeah! No, I remember firsthand, as we talked last time about my when I had a run in with my. Well, that was my own stupidity though. And but yeah.
So I had this funky idea, and I've had it for a while, I suppose. And I think there have been guys on YouTube or other platforms and stuff who have they like, even if it's just writing a book, right? People write books all the time about this type of stuff, I guess, and it's an interesting story and it's a great time. But at the same time, I thought it would be an interesting idea to give, at least from a Canadian perspective, because we're both Canadians and that's our experience as the Canadian justice system.
I've never had any American jails, and I've actually seen recently some Facebook videos have popped up of this one podcast guy and I'm not sure, somewhere in Europe, but he seems very old school,
right?
Which I much prefer old school over new school. As
Yeah.
terrible as that sounds, it's just, I don't know, but I'm a little biased because of the people that I had met in the pen that happened to be associated with higher ups that were nothing what I thought higher ups were like. They were more respectable, like I don't know. I thought anyways. It's.
Well, the guy that I know the most, I'll on it for the life of me, I can't think of his name, so I'll just put it across the bar or the top or something here at some point. But I've watched a bunch of his stuff, and he does very funny or very interesting things and comments on things like prison scenes and movies and stuff like that. But he himself, I believe, has been like 10 to 20 years and did hard time. Like, we don't necessarily have that extensive of experience in the sense of like longevity like that. But there are a few things you pick up after about 5 years, or give or take.
Well,
right?
I was only in there for 3 years, so
So within those time periods, and of course you've been kind of in and out a little bit, right? Like, you've had smaller stints, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I had one provincial in Calgary, and then I had one in EYOC, Edmonton Young Offenders. I should have had more. I should have had, but
and
sorry.
No, that's fine. So yeah, my hope, I suppose, in doing this is to, and we'll get to maybe our stories later. I don't think it's that big a rush to do it. It is. No. They are kind of. They're not long stories. They could be if we did like a whole autobiography thing. But based on the things that I've seen so far on YouTube and everything like that, I haven't seen anything really like, here's a fairly accurate picture of Canadian jails. Here's insight on just the very basics of what that process looks like from the inside rather from the outside. Like, a lot of people see the scene basically of the judge banging a gavel and sending a guy to prison. He's off with chains, right? And that's all they know. They don't know that there's a whole narrative. There's a whole story that comes after that is both very scary because you don't have that information, right? Like, we get all the information in the courtyard, like the courtroom rather. So like, when I was in court, was I scared? No, I've watched this a whole fucking ton of times on Criminal Minds or whatever the hell, or CSI.
Law and Order.
Law and Order, yeah, that's the one I was really thinking about, Yeah. But
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna go. I could just go through the whole theme song, right? But like, you don't really get the side, I think, either from Hollywood, like whether that's a television show or a
they don't tell you that the first day you get in, they send you, give you your little bit, they send you to Corcan or the outfitting area, right? You pick out, get your t-shirts and that, and then you get sent to your unit, and then the next day you're doing a healthcare seminar on the safeties of dental dams, and
and yeah, there's plenty of condoms available. So
yeah,
if you need a needle, and stuff like that, you're like, what the fuck?
yeah, you're like,
here?
oh, by the way, yeah, you got metal garbage cans in your cell. You're like, wait,
Yeah.
can't you make knives out of that? Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's a very bad idea. Just for the record, don't. Anyway, so so what we decided, like, at first we were gonna call this thing like jail tales, as in like telling you tales of jail. And I don't know,
Yeah.
it just sounded like DuckTales to me, or VeggieTales. If you're a Christian, you know what the hell that is. Just like cartoony and stuff. But then the thing that we landed on, because we were talking about, like, well, what are we gonna talk about, right? Like, what is this thing? Is this a podcast? What the hell is this thing? It's like, I don't know. What is it? So we started talking about it and what it's like to go to jail, essentially. And one of the things that's really important, or at least really sought after, like really excited, like almost like one of the only positive things about jail
is something.
It's something called a pen pack. And essentially what a pen pack is a limited but still substantial box of stuff that you can get.
It's $1,500 that you can have.
Yeah.
Which
so
may not sound like a lot, but
yeah.
that $1,500 is supposed to make it do for whatever your sentence is.
Right. So, like, you only get one. I don't think you ever get a new one. Like, you can get new stuff because you can buy it.
90 days for it to be sent in.
Yeah. And so what we thought was, like, as something of an analogy or a metaphor, like, what is in a pen pack is essentially like what you will get to survive and be like, this is who you are, like, this is of your past. Like, if you have clothes you like to wear that are just regular civilization clothes kind of thing, rather than fucking blue jeans and a white t-shirt, man, that's all you're gonna get.
With your name on it.
With your name on it, or a big fucking green jacket, or a fucking
lighter green jacket.
Yeah. Or overalls, like prison blues or prison greens or prison oranges. They just turned over to orange recently, or when we were getting out, from what I understand. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they're, anyway, normally they're blue. Like, that was the main color. Like, the ones before that were green, and I don't know if they just, like, shake it up every 5-10 years or what. Like, government has lots of money to spend, I guess, so they're gonna outfit these new these new coveralls. Anyway, so the pet pack is like, it doesn't only, it has some of your life that you're allowed to bring in with you, right? Like, kind of who you are, some, like, even if it's just a television.
It also helps get you through the whole years, right? And that's the thing.
It's kind of like your, it's kind of like your survival kit. Yeah, it's a survival kit. It's a medical kit. It's a life pack. And so what we thought is, you know what? Wouldn't it be kind of cool metaphor to call this the pen pack and just give people like a heads up, like, hey, look, I imagine like most of you aren't actually in the position where you'll ever go to jail. I mean, that's just statistically probably true, right?
Yeah.
But maybe there are some people that you know, or maybe there are just people that you're out there and you are in that situation and you have no clue what's coming. Maybe we can give you some guides,
If also, worst case scenario, I'm also of the mind recovering addict. Remember, maybe this will also help someone change their mind that they need to press charges on someone to get clean.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I needed it myself. I wouldn't, if I hadn't gone to the pen, I would have never got clean.
Yeah. And I honestly, I'm surprised that I lived based on the person I was and the things that I wanted to do. And it was only because I went there, yes, certainly because of some experiences that I had, which involve my faith, and that's why I'm a faithful guy now, or I try to be. I'm trying to walk that way. But still, like, if I hadn't been in that context, in that situation, and went to that place as dark as it was, then I wouldn't be where I am today, which is like definitely not in prison, you know, and just about to graduate from college and like a bunch of stuff that, look, I'm certainly not perfect. Life's not perfect, but
No,
look,
but
what
at the same time, look at our relationship and what we gotten out of it, and I'd say that's something light in a dark place. So even in the darkest of situations, you can always take something positive out of it. It's just a
Right.
matter of your perception.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and it's okay. No, it's good. It's good stuff. But yeah, I think that's what I think our program wants to do. It's not just equip people for like just a heads up, like, hey, this is this, and even just for like it. Maybe it will be entertaining. We have some freaking crazy stories, which is why we originally were going to call it Jail Tales, because fucking some of that shit is crazy, right?
Yeah.
But regardless of the maybe the entertainment value or the uniqueness of whatever it is, or the two weird characters that you have in front of you right now, and possibly more to come. Who knows who we're going to be able to rope into to talking?
Exactly.
Probably, yeah. But also, I think recognizing that sometimes making a mistake and having to pay for it is the best thing that can happen to you, because there's a burden that's lifted once you just like, when you're like, hey, I have to fess up, right? Even if you don't want to fess up, there, whatever. You got caught. Maybe you just got caught. You got your shit pushed in. Sorry, that's a bad. But like, sorry, but seriously, you got really messed up and you got caught, and now you're headed to prison, or you're looking at that possibility. We actually want to help people, because it is a confusing place. It is kind of scary, but it doesn't have to be if you just have a couple of basic like boundaries and guidelines and basic, I don't know, to me, you know, common sense isn't really common anymore, but still, like some sense, some intuition of, hey, this might actually piss off the 300-pound gorilla that's my roommate.
Yeah.
So maybe I shouldn't do that, right? Like, so we'll kind of touch on a bunch of those small things. This is just
the person's cell is their house.
Right. Yeah. You know, like you don't just
don't
walk in.
Yeah. You don't rubberneck when you.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't like. It's like, do you go up to a stranger's house and start peering into their windows? Like, no, that's an idiot thing to do. And if you're in America, they could shoot you by all rights, I imagine. So
yeah,
but yeah, like so like this is just genuinely an introduction. You know that I'm Michael, known as the Zell. You can call me Zell. That's what everybody else does. Doesn't really matter to me. And this is Desmond, and
also known as NerdyDez.
NerdyDez. We are both kind of nerdy guys, and we did go to prison, and we got out of it, and I think we're better for it. Now, that's not always going to happen, but if we can help guys do the same, or girls, I suppose. I don't know a lot about the female side of prison, but I suspect it was a little lighter in terms of the volatility.
I actually heard it's actually way crazier in female prisons than males.
Maybe it was. I'm not gonna stipulate, because I wasn't a chick that was in jail. So
no, I just know some working girls from my back days that
yeah.
Hopefully they're ex-working girls. Knock on wood.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. No, but right. But yeah, and we just want you to feel free to ask any questions in the comments. We love to just like, it's not like we like love to reminisce about the good old days in jail necessarily, but it is interesting to have the discussion, especially just with one another. Is like, do you remember when we used to do this, or this is what our talks used to be about, and how far we've come from there? You know, even that is really neat, and we love sharing that with people, and we hope that we can inspire or encourage a growth in yourself to go from wherever you're at to wherever you feel like you need to go, where, you know, and not like a societal thing, or like the government's telling you to do this, or, you know, your mom's telling you to do that, or, you know, you should go get a job. We're not going to do that. We're just going to be like, hey, what do you actually want, why, and how can you get there? And if we can help you along the way, great. This obviously is going to be more
knowledge. Yeah,
you know,
and
it's going to be
our perception of it. So no,
and it's pure experiential knowledge. It's not like we're super book learned on criminal justice. We just know that there are things, and this is something else that will come up, I'm sure, but it'll be like, that fucking guy who is a guard is corrupt as shit and will do everything he can to put you down and make you feel like subhuman garbage. But that guy is a really nice dude, and he's not just here for a paycheck, he is actually here for a reason. And I think that reason is hopefully to, if not help other people, then it's actually to help people outside and say, well, I'm actually going to treat these people reasonably well, because if you do that, maybe they'll recognize that they're human, and when they get out, they will behave humanly. You know?
Like my CX2, who said, this is, I come to work here, you live here.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like, that's like, what kind of, like, that's a huge respect, like, that's...
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just for those who don't know, and this is it. We'll probably drop lingo without really thinking about it. But like a CX2 is essentially like a level 2 guard, essentially. Like they have a bit more responsibility.
Key worker, if you were key worker, like if you ever dealt with group homes or kids with, it's the person that deals right with that kid. You know, it's you know, you do the monthly reports. Sorry, that's...
You're right. They get much more personal. They try and learn a little bit more about you and say, how's it going, and they're kind of the first line of defense almost. I wouldn't say, that's not really the best way to say it, but it's the first line of figuring out where's this guy at, you know, in the journey from like, okay, you're in prison, and one day you will probably not be in prison, right?
Yeah, he's the one that gives the reports to your inside probation officer.
Right.
So that depending on what you get, so when you get out, that's what you'll get for conditions, usually, is depending on whatever's been suggested. So if you've been caught with contraband inside, even though you don't have drug charges, guess what? You're not going to be allowed to get high when you get out. Now that pot's legal in Canada.
And you know what? I have stories to tell about the most nightmarish parole officers and the most nightmarish CX2s, and also some really good CX4s, which are like the unit guys who are like way over the thing. I've got stories to tell about that. But yeah, it's just, like I said, hopefully anything we say is helpful and insightful, and
I hope no offense gets taken, because we don't mean any offense. It's
I think also, so I want to end on this just as a kind of a final point, and it's partly a plea. It's a plea to a guy that I used to be, who had a particular view of criminals, who had a particular view of people who did bad things. And it was a very black and white view. I was the number one kind of guy to absolutely demand maximum retribution, the worst possible punishment for anybody's crimes, because I thought that was the only way. I don't even know if that would even be true. It's not only that I didn't think that they could change because of that maximum penalty, I just literally did not think that they could change. I thought a person was essentially always going to be the way they were once they hit 21, 23, because that's how the brain works, right? The brain develops to a certain point, and then it doesn't develop. It's sort of static, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know about, and I learned about in jail, because I did read quite a bit about neuroplasticity, and that's not true, which started to change my mind. But what changed my mind the most was going to prison as a criminal myself, rightly so. I turned myself in, rightly so. And I met 95% of the people that I would have just met on the street. 5%, I say 4% are like, wow, that is going to take a lot of work for that guy to get from like a really hardened or psychopathic or sociopathic criminal to health, but it's possible. I still believe that it. And then there's a 1% that, well, maybe it is just cheaper to have a 10-cent bullet. you know.
Well, and then there's some cases though that were just kind of sad, like the guy that was inside. Remember that got released, and he's like, I haven't been released since before they just started bringing out ATMs.
Right.
Right. That's
yeah. Well, okay. Well, I'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there. But
sorry.
But even those guys that, you know, it's not like I used to feel nothing but maximum hatred for guys who committed crimes. It didn't matter what it was for the most, well, I mean, it's scaled, of course, like there were certain crimes that I was way worse, and there's a reason why I went to prison.
Which is understandably so. I'm sorry,
right.
But it's
so we'll get there. We'll get there. But my point is even though I was that hateful, once I actually sat down with these guys and broke bread with these guys and shared stories with these guys, even if they were quote unquote storying up, which means that they were probably lying off their ass kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I recognized the key element that these people were humans, that they were humans and not monsters. And that's I don't know if people realize that these human people are complicated, that it's not black and white, that there's nuance, and there is not permission, but certainly reasons for the place that these people have ended up there. It doesn't happen in a fucking vacuum. And a lot of people don't know that.
Well, the thing that shocked me was what it reminded me most of was a group home. It was very much a group home.
Yeah.
And, well, most likely because I think I don't know what the percentage is in Canada, but I know it's very high that we have a high children in foster care in the children ministry service in group homes, just because sadly once you become a teenager, and you know you tend to then start rebelling, and of course then less foster homes want to take you, so if the people who are more likely to end up in this place are more likely to come from group homes, that should give you less of a fear of it too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry,
but exactly right.
You know, because that was the big thing. I can't remember, but I remember we were playing D&D, and that I had that epiphany. Remember, I was like,
yeah,
yeah,
it's not different. Well, and that's what's so weird. If I'm perfectly honest, it's just kind of like the worst version of high school. Like, it's just a bunch of guys that never fucking grew up. I know you didn't have that experience, but I was just saying, I mean, again, well, that's what's so interesting is me and Dez have wildly different history, like wildly different experiences and upbringings. Yeah. So like maybe unlikely friends to some degree, but we did find friendship because we are dorky people. We are nerds, right? And we like Dungeons and Dragons and sci-fi and fantasy and all sorts of...
Well, I did have to get the tattoo just because, you know, I was the only one in the crew that didn't have glasses. No. No.
Yeah. You know, voracious reader, you know, like he was mostly fiction. I was more nonfiction, but still, we were kind of just chewing through books.
I got the library job. I was I need to get my books.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, you know, so it's, we do have I think we've had a lot of interesting times together. I think we have really interesting experiences with really like varied backgrounds, and I think that'll make for hopefully something that you guys are interested in hearing about, wanting to know more, asking questions. Please 100% feel free to comment down below and say,
I have
hey,
no issue. Nothing is hidden from my past. Because that's part of my addict behavior is lying. You don't lie, right? So I'm trying to be 100% honest. If I don't want to talk about something, I'll say I don't want to talk about it. So don't take it the wrong way. It just
it's like,
you know, yeah.
So and I am a fairly open book. I abhor lying, and that's because that's all I pretty much used to do. And so the day I stopped lying was the day I said, yeah, I did that crime. Come and put handcuffs on me, like right now. And that was within hours of doing my crime. And so, like, that's not to say that I never lied, of course, since then, but that was sort of like, I do want to start moving towards just expressing objective truth as well as subjective, my personal opinions and stuff. So
I think for me, it was the day that I got on the Greyhound, January 28th, to move out here. Was because, when I got out, I still ended up having a couple slips, not with the old crack cocaine, but methamphetamine, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I was a crackhead for 5 years. That's what brought me to the pen. Sorry, just and so, but and you had seen me. There was a couple times there you almost kicked in the door, fucking at the one house I was staying at.
Yep.
And well, I had a chance to move out here, and I was on the Greyhound, and I went, yeah, no, I could see the potential of who I was because I had that little bit, because I got that job for a little bit at the restaurant there,
Right.
which, I didn't last very long, but I mean, I was seeing an opportunity, right?
A
Because I
vision.
was having, yeah, and it wouldn't have been possible if I hadn't gone to the pen.
Yep.
Because I just, some people might call it lucky. Well, good luck. I say I'm lucky. It's not necessarily good luck. It's not necessarily bad luck. It's all on how you perceive it. Some people might go, well, finding 7 pieces of crack cocaine when you're a crackhead, well, that's great luck. And I go, yeah, that may seem like great luck at the time. That doesn't mean it's great luck.
Right.
It's like, I don't know. So I needed the pen myself, right?
Yeah.
And if I hadn't gone to the pen, I wouldn't have met you. And I honestly believe if I hadn't met you when we had glowing reports of us, we were supposed to be able to associate while we were on parole. And every person on parole has a do not contact with other, right? Because remember, we had both this, like, it's... And it changed my whole perspective, too, on gang associations and all that, too, right? Because I'd only ever, bought, and there's a respect. There is.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm going off there.
No, and it's good stuff, right? And and we do want to share it with you, and we're more than willing to dive into it. And hey, even the touching stuff, even the stuff that it's been a really cool friendship, and it's been a really cool time, and yeah, hopefully we can just give people some hope, not just if you're headed to prison or a loved one is headed to prison or anything like that, but just that it doesn't have to be a black fucking hole where people just either die or get worse. People can get better from going to prison. And
it's my foundation of who I am today as a man. If I hadn't gone, I wouldn't be. And trust me, I've got so much going for me now that I never thought I would have going. And it may not seem like lots, but from where I was before I went to the pen, it's
the world.
Yeah.
Literally, like when they say shit, I hate trite phrases, for the record. I hate it.
Yeah.
Like, unless I'm saying it like facetiously, as a joke, right? But when they say like, "Oh, the world is your oyster," God, like, do they know what they mean? Right? Do you know that we literally had no world? Our world was, in the worst case scenarios, an 8x5 cell or 8x6 cell, whatever it was.
I'm living 2 years past the life expectancy I was expecting. I expected to be dead already 2 years ago. Yeah. I went in at 125 pounds. Yeah. I'm 6'2", by the way. that should give you everything.
How much it deteriorates you, right? But yeah, like if your world is basically stone or dust, and that's all you've got, and maybe a mirror to look at, which isn't really something you really want to look at, right? Because you know that what you're looking at isn't something that's necessarily great. right? At least not in the sense of achievement or development or growth or whatever you want to say. But when there's a flower, just one flower, even in that world that is suddenly given to you, I mean, some people just crush it. Fair enough. That's because they are the people that they are, and they are broken and sick. And sometimes it's hard to see a flower, especially if you don't even get to
sometimes you just
possess
go,
it.
no, I don't want to see it. I can't
Right.
deal with it. It's just too much.
It is easier to just live in your world of dust and stone. It is, because some people just can't handle the fact that that flower is temporary. It grew, amazing, beautiful, unique, but the fact of the matter is it's still going to die. It's not going to be around forever. It's going to wilt. And so it's better to never have, well, as you know, there's another, saying, it's like never better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. Trust me, there's some of us that are perfectly willing to say, I'm gonna not love, because that's way fucking easier. I've seen guys who have loved and lost, and those fucking guys are like dead. They are gone.
Oh,
You know?
I've loved and wanted to blow my brains out. I've literally slit my wrist to feel something better than what I felt from the people I loved. I'm sorry, that sounds really bad, and
Yeah, it is what it is, right?
This was, and don't do it. Don't recommend at all. It's terrible, and your body ends up paying for it later on.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing, right? Is that's when you're in that place, and you can choose to savor the flower, or you can choose to just ignore it and walk on, or crush it if you want, whatever. But the fact is we don't just have stone and dust anymore. When we're out, we recognize not only that there is a world with which we can engage that is pro-social and, as friends and just growing, but the threat of finding ourselves in a stone and dust pile again is so much further away, to the point that I'm convinced anyway that I'm never going back. Right? And that's a dangerous thing to say inside. I'll never be back, kind of thing. But still, like, I think that likelihood is further and further away.
Yeah, no, I don't get me wrong. Like I hate to be one of those people. Yeah, I agree. I've come too far where I've never come so far in my life. Yeah. I just lived for the third time in all my life at the third longest place, like single dwelling, and it's the first time of my own choice, right? Where it was at a single address.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never had that.
Yeah.
That may not seem like that big of a deal to a lot of people, but for someone that's never had a stable home, which was a lot of what was, that's a big deal. Yeah. And it was. It started with the pen, because I was able to get that job, which, even as much as it wasn't really a job, right? It taught me the little bits of the boredom of work, right? Because that's the thing that kills me. I can deal with it being busy.
Yeah.
But when it's slow as... Sorry.
There's a problem with literacy in jail. A lot of guys, but most of it is because a lot of guys just don't go to the library, like, ever.
Which is funny, because it's the only place, before I got out, because they just put cameras in, but it was the only place that didn't have cameras when I worked in there. Yeah. It's so like
all
the
sorts
only
of
place
these.
you could actually have private conversations.
Yeah.
Because the guy that worked in the library wasn't even a guard. He was a volunteer coming, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that. I do remember that, yeah. I remember there being a lot of there's a lot of spots in the library that you could just go and just like walk, drop something in in the E section of like sci-fi or something, and then some other guy could just walk,
let's just say, well, as you very well know, yeah, I got handed many game systems to hand over to other units. I mean, yeah, not a problem. I don't know what's in it, right? So,
Yeah.
it's a game system.
It's a good time.
Like, and it was just like right there at the desk, huh? Yeah, position of trust.
That's position of trust. Yeah. That's more than just trust from the institution.
Yeah, because you're out with the consequence unit too.
Yep. True story.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, Desmond, it is
Yes.
always great to talk to you, my friend. And hopefully, the people at home have
questions,
have
because
been
it's so much easier. Because otherwise, we'll just start.
They've had
talking.
their appetite whetted, whetting of appetite for our stories and our antics and our experiential knowledge, and that's what we're going to be talking about here in the Pen Pack. So hopefully you'll come by sometime soon. I'm sure we'll be doing it fairly regularly, every other week maybe, something like that. And but in the meantime, check down below in the description. You can find my Discord, the Den of the Zelazel, where you can join us if you want to just chat beforehand, ask some questions more in depth. If maybe you have something to share or whatever that you're dealing with that you don't want to share in a YouTube comment section and you just want to do it personally, hey, I'm totally okay with that. I'm not like a professional counselor or psychologist or anything, but I am going to college to get that, going towards that. So I am a good listener, and I am the person who's pretty good at like just locking down secrets, that stuff. So I don't mind chatting with people who, if they're having an issue or something like that. So yeah, I don't know, Des, anything else to say for yourself?
No. I'm looking forward to this. It's I'm hoping it piques people's interest, because it was a big turning point in my life that it actually helped me, and there's a lot of negative views towards it, and I want people to realize it's again, sayings that are terrible. Life is what you make of it, but it's very sorry.
Hey, it's hard to make a pumpkin pie when all you got is mud and shit. So, hey, yeah, life is what you make of it, but if you aren't given the ingredients, sometimes it is difficult to. But at the same time, I think it's, you could call it what you want to call it. You can call it miraculous. You could just call it really encouraging and hopeful. But the fact that we're sitting here having this conversation, talking to you on a computer system or a phone or whatever we've got, it's light years away from where we were, in my opinion. So, and we just want that for other people. So yeah, tune in next time. No. Thanks so much, guys. Hopefully you're encouraged, and have a good day. Peace.